Gonna build a mountain from a little hill. Gonna build a mountain, least I hope I will. Gonna build a mountain, gonna build it high. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, only know I'm gonna try.
Welcome here, everybody, and a special welcome to Allison Martens. Allison, thank you so much for being here.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invite, Susan. I kind of don't know where to start, but I do know that what qualifies me is becoming a parent in May of 2008. And I had my little guy. His name is Jacob Evan, and he was born in late May of 2008, weighing in at a whopping 710 grams. And we were 24 weeks into our pregnancy, and that was as far as we ever got. And he traded the hot tub inside me for the sauna inside the isolette, and we began our journey. I got a crash course on ICU parenting and how to make really big decisions and advocate for someone who wasn't in a position to understand or advocate for themselves, having never done so before. And I'd love to tell you that I always made the right choices, and some days I'm still not sure. But I can tell you I made the best choices each and every day, based on what I knew that day. And when the information changes, sometimes our goals and direction has changed over the years, all with the idea of providing my son with the best quality of life he can have today. Mm-hmm. And making things manageable as a parent for him. So my story as a parent, I was 25 when I had Jacob. Mm-hmm. And I remember wondering if they'd figure it out and how long if they would figure it out, they being the healthcare providers that were involved with my kiddos' care. And what I was wondering about how long it would take them to figure out is how unfit I was as a mother. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was big time intimidated by the entire situation. I felt like I didn't have anything to offer him. He needed a machine to help him breathe. He had tubes going into his veins, into his lungs, PICC lines, ETT tubes. He was so tiny. You could see his liver and his heart. He didn't have nipples developed in his skin on his chest. 24-week-old genitalia does not really look distinguishingly like anything. His ears were see-through, like actually see-through, and it was just very intimidating. And I was, oh boy, I'm in over my head, and I don't know. I sure love him though.
Of course, yes.
I was very, very attached to him very quickly. And the notion of me being discharged from hospital and him didn't even kind of compute in my head. I didn't know how, that didn't even make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. Strange city. Jacob and I live in Northern Alberta in a city called Grand Prairie. This is where I was when I went to the doctor to ask for help, and I was flown to Edmonton, and Jacob was born at the Royal Alex in Edmonton. Oh, okay. And he spent the better part of his first year hospitalized in Edmonton. He was just shy of 11 months the first time I brought him.
And that was 13 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's something else.
So he's 13 now. Okay.
Yeah. The first 3 to 5 years, there was a lot going on, just trying to keep him going and keep him alive. And I was told a lot that it was appropriate for me to stop everything that I was doing in life and just focus on him, because this was the time period I had with him. And I understand where that message came from, and with the idea of not overwhelming me about how to figure out how to be his mom and be Allie, let alone somebody else's daughter or wife or bestie. Mm-hmm. And it actually wound me up in a little bit of trouble. By the time he was 5 years old, I had absolutely nothing going on
Wow.
that was filling my cup. And I'd been pouring big time for 5 years and I didn't have a whole lot left. And I had to kind of revamp my goals and strategies. And the summer Jacob was 5 years old, his shunt had failed for the 22nd time.
Wow.
And we placed a shunt, and just as a quick description of what a shunt for my kiddo is a device that helps regulate the pressure in his skull. Our bodies, most bodies regulate this pressure on their own, and they make cerebrospinal fluid and reabsorb it. My kiddo has the ability to make his cerebrospinal fluid, but he does not reabsorb. And without shunting it away from his brain and out of his skull, the pressure would just build up and it would be incompatible with life very quickly.
Wow.
Jacob has been a problematic individual to place a shunt in because of everything else going on in his body. And his 22nd shunt, we placed it in his pleural space behind his lungs that have severe lung disease and behind his heart. And with the idea of just buying us a little bit of time to get him out of hospital. The summer he was told, we were sent home with a bottle of morphine and a 90-day plan. And they said, come back if you run out of drugs.
Wow.
That was 9 years ago.
Wow,
Almost.
Maria. Yes. So
And
was he diagnosed time, or they were just telling you, let's wait and see what's going to happen, or what were you told?
a lot of probablys.
Mm.
By the time Jacob was 10 days old, he had suffered some massive complications as the result of his extreme preterm birth.
Mm-hmm.
He was what we call a micropreemie, so he was under 1,000 grams. The line of viability in our province in 2008 was the 24th week. It is now the 23rd week. So that has actually changed. And male fetuses born in the 24th week didn't have a great track record.
No.
97% of them didn't make it through their first 24 hours.
Wow.
So he was in his first 3% very quickly. And then he was born with a hole in his heart, which is very normal for a micropreemie. He had bilateral pulmonary hemorrhages, which means he had active bleeding in both lungs. And he developed a hemorrhage in his brain, which filled his entire brain. So it was a grade 5 hemorrhage. And he developed necrotizing endocarditis, which is endocolia. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but it doesn't matter. His guts died inside him.
Wow.
And all of that had developed in the first 10 days. And it wasn't, he might have some special needs. It was, he's probably a couple of people that were involved in Jacob's care that maybe had differing opinions or differing views of my own. As his mom, I didn't really care about anybody else. I only had to care about him. And some of the people at the table have cared for literally thousands of these tiny babies, and they bring all of that experience with them. And he's probably not going to be able to speak. He's probably not going to be able to see or hear. He's probably not going to know who you are. He's probably going to live with pain. And all I heard was probably. And that leaves space for maybe. And maybe he will see and hear me. And maybe he will know who I am. And maybe he'll find a way to cope with his pain. They told me a lot of things that felt really horrific and scary and intimidating. Most of them were true. He does not speak. He does not walk. He does not breathe unaided. He does not eat unaided. He is the happiest kid I know.
Yes.
He has never known a day of life without a suction machine and some oxygen, without seizure management and control, without tube feeds, nebulized antibiotics to keep our lungs healthy. I use the term we a lot. It's something I'm trying to get away from, but I just heard myself say it. We are
Yeah.
The health conditions aren't mine. I just get to watch them and manage them, but they're not mine. And I am experiencing some freedom in understanding how powerful when I talk to myself and I talk to others, how I frame us,
Yes.
kiddo, and what we're facing. It can be very difficult to fully explain the extent of my kids' needs, special needs, disabilities, whatever you want to call them. I'm really not offended by very many terms.
Yeah.
I just don't care what you think. But the words have power, and I realize as I reflect on what our first 5 years were like and what the last 8 years have been like, how the messaging we received shaped our family. When Jake was first born, I was in a relationship with his father. We aren't in a relationship today. We are parenting partners, and I'm grateful for that. I can tell you that some of the messaging we received played a huge role in how it viewed our entire family unit and each other and ourselves. Definitely encouraged that I stay bedside, and it was definitely discouraged that Dad stay. And we let that really impact how we viewed ourselves and the importance of our entire family unit. There's been lots of times where I've heard healthcare professionals say things to Jacob and I about, well, have you considered relocating? And do you understand the risk you're taking living in Northern Alberta with Jacob so far from the Stollery? And I counter with, do you understand the risk of us not going home? Quality of life for me is defined by my connection to my community and my family and my friends. And at 5 o'clock in Edmonton, we don't have a lot of, or at least we didn't in the beginning. We definitely have some connections in Edmonton now. Good. But not in the beginning, we didn't. And Jacob's cousins are here. His grandparents are here. My siblings are in the Peace Country. Jacob's dad is here. This is where we live. This is our home. And I 100% understand the risk we would take by never coming home. This is our, and the great debate raged for a few years until I just kind of bluntly took it off the table. We are not relocating. We are not traking Jacob. We are going to maintain a lifestyle that includes living in Northern Alberta, and it took me a long time to grab those motivators. Even tell you what they are, but I had a strong desire to have a good life myself, and I felt like I wasn't living, and I felt like I'd been discouraged from living. Don't look at your career. Don't focus on Jake. And it was actually conversations with one of our pediatricians, and then obviously the families that were around us, because we made some really good friends. When you're raising terminally ill kids, it's a bonding thing to other mothers who understand regression and ability loss, and what it's like to watch your kiddo's ability slip away, knowing that like the best metaphor I've come up with is life is like treading water.
Yeah.
We're in the ocean and we will drown. We will never make it to land. Likely outlive my kiddo. And that's just the way it is. And the days that are good, my head's above the water. And the days that aren't good, maybe my fingertips are sticking out, right. It's really hard to swim knowing that ultimately we'll never make it to shore. And I need to be able to take care of myself. And it was a pediatrician that said to me, I need you to stop living like you're waiting for the ball to drop. And I'm like, how come everybody says the ball's going to drop? Like, how do you guys know this? You've been telling me since his first week that he was leaving, and he's still here. And he said, you get really, really busy living life and giving him opportunities and experiences, and we'll take care of the healthcare part, and don't you worry about it anymore. And it was really helpful to me to be encouraged to take care of myself. One of the first things I did was I changed our family dynamic, and Jacob's father and I we weren't working. It wasn't working. So So we separated, and I went back to school, and I got a job, and figured out housing for us, which was not easy. City has some really wonderful programs for housing. And we were the recipient of that program for a couple of years. And now Jacob and I live in a little house that we own ourselves. And I'm so very grateful for that.
Awesome.
I think some of the best things that have ever happened to me are watching Jake figure out how to have a good time and the things that make him tick. He really, truly has a much better outlook on life than I ever have. He's got things sorted out that I'm still sorting out. He'd give a rip about your social economic status. He doesn't really care what you do for a job. He will be able to tell how you treat people very quickly, and part that you carry into a room with him in it. I've never seen anybody take the time to say hi to Jake and not be impacted by his presence for much longer than the visit that they have. Jake has a really unique way of impacting people and showing people what's important. The moment he is in 100% of the time.
That's a
really,
gift. I think that's a gift that our special children, exceptional children give us, because it just makes us more aware of that. Like you don't think about those things. And if you don't have a child with disabilities, it never crosses your path. But in that case, and I so agree with you that, you see my granddaughter, I just see her and she's just a beautiful ball of sunshine, just golden light. I mean, you just love being around her, and it's a gift to our family, Yeah.
This morning, my mom has been here for a couple of days because I had a minor surgery late last week, and she's a mom just like me. When our babies have surgery, we better be there to make everything okay,
Yeah.
So, this morning, Jacob's in his stander, and my mom is not a very tall woman. She's nowhere near 5 feet. And my kiddo's in his stander, which is a device that keeps his body in an upright position, so he can experience standing up, and he loves to be in his stander. He's actually a little bit taller than Grandma Faye when he's in his stander, and she was singing. I want to say it comes from Eastern Canada, but I don't know that. It comes to my family from Eastern Canada, a song called The Rattling Bog. And she's singing this goofy song to Jacob, and he's laughing and singing with her, which there's a term in the song that you don't say, you just stop, and then he verbalizes, and that's him singing along with you. And like, for example, the ants go marching, hurrah, hurrah.
Yes.
Don't say the second hurrah, and he vocalizes an and that's him, and he's totally into it, and will sing songs with you all day. Music makes this world
awesome.
His world. And I was watching my mom and Jacob this morning, and teasing my mom a little bit because he's taller than her, and then teasing Jacob because she's a better singer than him. And she said to me, it's so powerful to me to figure out how to use his stander to get physically close to him. Because something that's happened in the last calendar year or so is we've stopped snuggling with Jacob in a large easy chair because he's too big to move into the easy chair on our own. I'm not a really tall person either. I'm just over 5 feet, and my mom is a tiny, and we cannot move Jacob. He's almost 70 pounds.
Okay.
And I hadn't realized how much she was missing that. But in his stander, the only thing that's between them when he's standing and she's standing is he has like a denim chest piece with Velcro to the stander to keep him upright. And that's all that's between him. And she can wrap her arms around him. And she said, I've so missed hugging him because we don't sit in the chair together anymore. And I had one of those moments where I go, man, I wonder how many times Jake has been like, hug me, grandma, and not been able to, that we could understand him.
Right.
And it just helped me remember how diligent I would like to be able to be all the time about what his needs are. And, Jacob can't say, Grandma, I want a hug. but Jacob can answer a yes, no question. And if I offer it to him, like, would you like a hug today from grandma? Because we can make that. He could say yes or no. And the onus is on me to facilitate that and to model that to other caregivers on our team. Fantastic team. Right now there's 6 or 7 people. There's 6 regular and 2 casual.
Wow, good.
Casual have been here for more than 10 years. And of my regulars, nobody's been here less than a year. So we're very, very lucky that way. Have a great team. Am I sharing the right kind of stuff, Susan?
Oh, this is amazing. This is exactly what we're hoping. You know, we want to hear feelings and the emotions that you go through, because people just don't understand it. And I think for the parents who and the grandparents who go through this, just to verbalize it with somebody who gets it is huge. And that's why we wanted to have this platform, so that you can talk and share. Just share. I mean, no judgment. We understand what you're saying, and we're with you on this, and we want you to know that.
Thank you, Susan. I have I think I'm a sayings person. I like little quotes and ad libs that just fit. And there's a line, and I believe it's originally from Harry Potter, of which I might be a fan. But there's a line that I use to describe special needs parenting, or what I tend to describe our life as living with medical complexity. And Jacob is described in literature and in research as a CMC, a child with medical complexity. And I say, if you know what my life is like, I don't have to explain it to you. And if you don't know what my life is like, I can't explain it to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's both a privilege and a task at times. The task being to find a way to take care of myself and to keep us fine, a little family. Being a single parent to a child with medical complexity requires acceptance of a social economic status that you may not be comfortable with. I was and raised that you work for a living and you take care of yourself and you don't depend on others. And my experience as a parent of a child with medical complexity is pretty much exact opposite of that. I work when I ask for help every single day of my life. I am dependent on both provincial and federal funding programs to keep Jacob at home. It is in the provincial government's best interest to support me in keeping him at home. He's a much less expensive citizen in his own home than he would be in a care facility. Mentioned that there's only 2 facilities in our entire province that are designed to care for someone like Jacob. One of doesn't allow families to be involved in the care inside. Therefore, we do not have a relationship with that facility. The other facility is a hospice home. Jacob is considered a palliative care patient, and that is our route for his care and intervention moving forward. And all it really means is we have choices about treatment options now. And before it felt like this is what you have to do.
Wow.
It might not work. It might make things worse, but if we don't do it, he's for sure going to die. And elongating his life is really not the goal. Him enjoying his life is the goal. And I could give a rip about what his x-rays or his blood work look like. Is he smiley today? Is he comfortable today? Does he need morphine today? Or is today a day where he doesn't need anything and is able to do his own thing? And we started a relationship with the Rotary Flames House in Calgary, which is the only pediatric hospice facility that is not in a hospital. And so grateful for our opportunities to go there. Jacob loves that house, loves being a part of the atmosphere. And when we go there, he has an RN taking care of his medications and a nurse's aide to take care of him and his day-to-day needs every moment of every day. And I get to be his mom. I don't have to. I don't have to administer tube feeds or medications. I do not have to carry out therapeutic interventions. I get to be his mom, and I love being there.
Mm-hmm.
Through a loop into how the respite program in hospice care works. And I don't know what it'll look like moving forward, but I can tell you that there was a whole year where we couldn't go. And now we've gone again once for, I think it was 5 days, and we've got a 10-day stay coming up in November that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
We qualify for 3 weeks or 30 days or something a year of care in that home. With the idea being that it's for my mental health and for me. I usually stay there with him. We've done Christmas in that house. Jacob and I are a pretty small family. It's just him and I. We don't have a large extended family. We do have family. We don't really know them. And it's just us really. And Christmas there was just magical.
Your talk about being the self-care, I mean, that's huge, you know, and the moms, you deserve it. You have, it's something that you really need and have to do, I think, to get through everything that you have to get through. And it's just really important to put yourself first. And I know that.
It took a lot of years for me to understand that, Susan, and to understand what self-care for me even looked like. Love to tell you that prior to becoming Jacob's mom, I was a fully functioning human being with all of her faculties about her, and I had a great quality of life. That's not true. Okay. I didn't enter adulthood with all of the skills intact that somebody needed to make good decisions, and that's just the reality of it. You know, I remember when Jake was little, seeing some moms of older kids with significant needs, teenagers, and the moms looked tired and they were kind of cranky. They didn't smile, and they had zero room for small talk and BS. And I remember seeing them in the hospital thinking, man, I hope I never get to be like that. I can see how they get there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
After a decade of no time for oneself, and I've had moments and periods of time where this entire situation has really got my number, and I was not swimming, but I wasn't anywhere close to the surface those days. I do the work now. I've set things up in my life for success for myself, despite what some of the people around me might think is best for me. We do not have in-home caregivers. We have people that come in and work a shift, but nobody lives here with us. And that's been helpful to me. We have 4 dogs. I can have more babies. Apparently I have canines instead. I grew up in Northern Alberta running sled dogs competitively throughout my childhood, and I still have sled dogs. So for me to have 4 dogs doesn't seem like that much. My mom asked me this spring when we got the last one, because he came home to us at the end of March. And she said, do you really need another dog? And I said, you don't get to talk. You have 40 in your backyard. And she's like, no, your father has 40. I journal every day. I walk a lot. I hike every chance I get. Tree bathing is a real form of therapy for me. I socialize regularly. I attend support groups regularly. I have a counselor that the intention isn't for me to get better and move on. This is maintenance, ongoing maintenance. And I have developed some mental health stuff over my experiences being Jake. I've been diagnosed with PTSD and an anxiety disorder. And these types of things require regular work on my part to maintain my mental health and keep my faculties about me and be able to take care of us. And the number one thing that Jacob has taught me is not only is it okay that I need help, it's appropriate to ask. And there's I don't know if it's Brené's saying or if Brené just uses it, but there's this lovely Texan researcher named Brené. And she talks about we were never meant to go through this life alone, that humans are to experience connection and relationship. And I was raised in a house where not only did you not have permission to ask for help. You were deemed as weak if you did. And that's still a thing in my life. And I still feel it, but I don't live like that anymore.
Good.
Not only is it okay for me to ask for help, it's appropriate. And my life is better as a result because of the relationships I get to experience. Care providers, friends, family,
right.
Those types of.
So I was going to ask you, you mentioned the support groups, and what else do you do that you'd recommend other parents do that's, other than the things you just mentioned? Because I heard what you said, and those are all they sound so wonderful, but maybe something else that parents should be doing to specifically look after themselves.
Figure out what it is that fills your cup. Know yourself. Know yourself better than you know your kid. Yeah. When I first started having a level of personal awareness around what was going on, there's another lady from Texas, but her name's not Brene, and that I really enjoy listening to her podcast. And she said, prior to finding out who I was, I had one of two opinions, either yours or the exact opposite of yours, depending on what I needed to get out of interactions with you. And that makes sense to me. If I had one thing that I was going to pass on to other parents is relax. There's a lot of things out there. You've got this. What's best for you and your kiddo and your family will not be the same as what's best for others. And that's appropriate. We're all different. Yeah. And figure out what's important to you and then focus on it,
And take that time, I think, too, right? I mean, some people, they don't honor themselves enough to take that time to figure out what that is. Because like you said, it's so individual.
I also do art stuff.
Good.
I am not an artist that does things to sell. I'm not talking about making $1 million off a piece. What I'm talking about is an outlet. Oh, I like golfing, but I don't really call it golfing. It's hitting tiny balls with big sticks, and really fun for me.
Just don't keep score. That's the trick.
I enjoy skeet shooting. There is something very cathartic about literally blowing shit out of the air. These are the things that I need. I need outlets for my frustrations, my anxieties. My first year gardening, I'm getting a real kick out of that. These are things that I have found that really actually help me. They really help me. And 100% hiking is a big one. Getting out on a regular basis into Mother Nature and losing myself there and enjoying the moment. Very, very important.
Oh, so important. I'm so glad you're advocating the self-care. I know that that's going to be really helpful to people who are listening today. And before we go, I want to thank you so much just for sharing. I mean, that was a beautiful story, and it's your story, and you are a survivor. I can see it, and I know it, and I know that you're going to just keep on doing what you're doing. And I think we find the strength when we need to find the strength, and it's not stopping anytime soon. I feel that you and Jacob are just doing what you need to do. And that you're having the life that you need to have right now. And it's together, which is so important. I know that. So just before we close, is there maybe I know you're amazing because you've actually given a lot of really good advice already. Maybe one beautiful gem that you have, for sure, that you would like to share with the parents out there that you'd like them to remember.
That the quality of your days and moments, is far more important than the number of them that you get. And that is something that was impressed upon me by some other parents that I spent time in hospital settings with. We invited quite a number of subspecialty teams to leave our team in his first few years, simply because it wasn't going to do us any good to go down the rabbit holes of why. Everybody's different. There are some people that it's really, really important to know why and how they ended up where they are. That's not as relevant to me today as it might have been then. What's more important to me today is what we're going to do about it.
Oh, that's a wonderful word. Thank you so much for that, for sharing that. And I know that you are an inspiration to many people. And I know that Jacob is lucky to have you as his mom. And I really want to thank you for being here today. This has been really, really insightful for me. And I know that the parents out there are listening and that they really appreciate you too. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here today. And again, Allison Martens, thank you so much for sharing. You are a treasure and we appreciate you. So thanks again for everybody for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Gonna build a mountain, gonna build it high. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, only know I'm gonna try.
Well, that's all for today, friends. Thank you for joining us. We are so pleased that you are here, and we hope that we've given you some great information and that we have inspired you. So feel free, reach out if you have any suggestions for future topics or guests on our podcast, or if you would like to be a guest on Rise and Shine with Sue at the Hub Cafe. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, subscribe, like, and share. And remember, it takes a village, so let's do this together. You are not alone. Bye for now.
With a lot of care. When I get my daydream up the mountain,